Welcome to This Week in the PNFL. I'm your host, Mark Hill, and as always, along for the ride, the two great guys out there on the podcasting world, Mitch Grawl and Dean Chambers. How you doing, gentlemen?
Very good.
Fantastic.
Doing great. So, we have come to the end of the regular season, and we are moving into the wild card round. There's a lot that's going on. There was a couple games with playoff implications as far as seedings go. So a lot to discuss. But first, we're going to go ahead and run through these games. And we are going to start off with the first one on the list. We have Detroit playing at Indianapolis. And Detroit walked away with a victory 24-14. We're going to start with you, Dean.
Yeah, I think my first question on this is the change in quarterback for the Colts. Was there an injury there, or what happened there? And he brought in Matt Corral, I believe his name is, and he completed 61% of his passes and 2 touchdowns, but it was overall a losing effort, losing by 10 points to the Lions.
So, Mitch, what?
Yeah. I don't believe that Kyle Allen was injured. I get a sense from some of the email posts from, Coach Hoover that he's not happy with his quarterback situation, which I still say Kyle Allen as a top starter in this league. But I think the bigger question here, since neither one of these teams were going to make the playoffs, was to see if the Detroit was going to hand the ball off at all this game, and they came close to not. I mean, they only had 3 runs by running backs in this game, so it was the silver streak and 10-point win. So good game for those two.
I'm looking at their roster right now. That's what I was doing earlier. Kyle Allen was inactive for the game.
Right.
Coach's decision. He's not injured. It's a coach's decision, I guess. And he started the rookie.
Yeah, very, very surprising. Also shows that time of possession is overrated because Indianapolis had the ball almost 37 minutes and lost by 10 points.
Yeah. Next game we have Green Bay going into Green Bay hosting Atlanta. Well, we got the coach here, so we're going to find out. Green Bay beat the brakes off of them boys 45-3. Mitch, we'll start with you and then go to the coach.
Well, when you first see the stat line and the score, you might think, Atlanta probably just rested their starters, and then if you're able to watch the game, you would realize really quick that Green Bay just they'd have played like this the entire season, they'd have been in the playoffs. But Atlanta had a hard time protecting either quarterback in this game, giving up 8 sacks, and Prescott 400 yards and 5 touchdowns. I don't know if he was touched. Maybe a couple of times, I guess. But good game for Green Bay.
Okay, Coach, what happened to your boys this week?
Well, the big thing was the almost non-existent play of the quarterbacks. Justin Fields was shaken up twice, which ended up being recorded as a P1 injury at the end of the game. And then there were some holes in the defense. There were some blown coverages on some plays that led to big plays by the Green Bay offense.
Okay, straight to the point. Next game we have New England taking on or hosting the Giants, and the Giants walked away with that victory 17-15. Dean, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I think this was a game where the Giants just wanted it a little more, and clearly the Giants weren't in contention for going to the playoffs, and potentially were in the position of being a spoiler. And I think they just maybe playing for pride, wanting to finish the season off on a winning note. Um, New England had something to play for. I mean, if they lost and Denver had won, Denver would get that fourth playoff spot. And it was close. They lost by 2 points to the Giants.
Okay. Mitch.
Well, I think by the time we had kickoff in New England, that Oakland Denver game had already been played. So I'm thinking that maybe New England, the intensity wasn't quite there by the time kickoff came around, which probably led to the their performance being under their standard. But they made the playoffs. So congratulations.
Okay. Next one, we have Anaheim hosting San Francisco, and San Francisco San Francisco losing that one to Anaheim, 10-20. Mitch.
Yeah, I was very disappointed. I was looking for San Francisco to win this game and create lots of chaos in the NFC playoffs, but Anaheim came back, and after getting beaten pretty badly the week before against San Francisco, came back and basically they eliminated San Francisco from the playoffs. So nice job for the Rams.
Dean.
Yeah, this Rams win was the order that I was predicting last week in the defeat of chaos, and I just had a sense that that Anaheim was going to want this more badly, and they did win the game. If the 49ers needed to win to get in the playoffs, and this loss knocked them out, and the 49ers had won, they would be 10-6, and you'd potentially have a three-way tie at 10-6 with Green Bay beating Atlanta. But with the 49ers losing, then the last two playoff spots were pretty much decided.
That was pretty much sealed up after that. Next game, we have Jacksonville taking on Seattle. Low-scoring game went into overtime with Jacksonville finishing out their season strong with a 16-13 win over my Hawks. Dean, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I was kind of surprised by this. Jacksonville got 53% on third down conversions and 3 of 4 on 4-down conversions. So they went for the fourth down quite a few times and made 3 out of 4 of them. And I think that was ultimately the difference. I was thinking that Seattle was going to win this game, but the defenses both played pretty tough, and Seattle's offense, by scoring only 13, or I guess not by scoring enough to avoid overtime and not scoring in overtime, ultimately ends up being what makes the difference.
Yes, indeed. Mitch.
Well, I hope Jacksonville is happy because they kicked themselves right out of the number 1 pick in the draft. That overtime kick, I think, put Indianapolis into that number 1 pick position. So congratulations to Seattle for allowing that field goal to go through and giving Indianapolis that number 1 pick.
Trust me, we didn't want that to happen. Right. At least the coaching staff did not want that to happen. So trust me, we didn't want that to happen at all. So moving on, next one we have Oakland at Denver, and Oakland taking this game 31-13. We're gonna start this one off with Dean, and then we're gonna go to the coach. So Dean, let's go ahead and give us a rundown on that one.
Yeah, this is a pretty solid win by Oakland. I thought Denver had a chance to pull off an upset here, but the Denver defense gave up a few more scores than I had expected, and the offense was not very effective. I mean, it was just 46%, which isn't bad on third down conversions, 0-1 on fourth downs, only 70 yards rushing, only 193 yards passing, and 263 overall. That's just not enough against any competitive team, let alone playing against a team that ended up winning the number one seed in the conference. It's
Right.
just not enough.
Yep. All right, head coach. What'd you see out of your team this week, Mitch?
Yeah, I mean, the score is 31-13, but when you start breaking the tape down, there are a lot of holes on this Oakland team. And, this game was much closer than the score indicates. And it almost feels like we're backing into the playoffs. And we'll just see how it goes against New England again.
Okay. Next
Yeah,
game. Go ahead.
this is the post game version of the Lou Holtz show. When you win the game and you get the number one seed overall, you're somehow backing into the playoffs. I mean, that's Lou Holtz all the way right there.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Next one that we have LA taking on Minnesota, and Los Angeles winning that one 24-13. Mitch.
No, I was not surprised. Not surprised. It's Minnesota's had a tough year, especially on offense scoring, and so the game ended up being kind of what I expected it to be. Not necessarily a high scoring game, but I figured that LA would have enough offense to get that victory.
Okay. Dean.
Yeah, this is a solid win by the Chargers. They had over 136 yards rushing and good effort in the passing game. And I think this is an important win. I mean, certainly they would have hoped that Oakland would lose that game so they'd win the tiebreak, win the division. But nonetheless, it's still an important win. I think it goes in momentum, and I think the Chargers might be the best bet for an upset this weekend among our four playoff games.
Okay. As we come down to the last two games, as we wrap up the season, this one had some major seedings. One of the major seedings as far as for placement for the playoffs. This one is Washington going in to play the Jets, and they ended up winning that game 17-14. We're going to start with you, Dean.
Yeah, if I remember right, Washington was ahead for most of this game, and in the second half, the Jets came back. It was a very low-scoring game. Defensive struggle, but I believe it was 10-7 in favor of Washington, and the Jets scored a touchdown somewhat late in the process, take a 14-10 lead, and it looked like it was going to end with the Jets winning, and then that last bit of excitement on that last play when the Redskins scored that game-winning touchdown with just seconds left in the clock. We don't see that very often. That was pretty exciting, I think you'd have to admit.
Yes, it was. Mitch.
Yeah, I mean, both teams, I've had strong defensive games. Washington did rest some starters there. It does not look like New York really rested, or at least I didn't rest Carr. I'll put it that way. Which was, I think that they were trying to get that number one seed, but yeah, that was something, that Hail Mary at the end there to win the game. So definitely enjoyed watching that.
Yeah, and that loss definitely cost them some seeding, that number one seed out there. They had to concede that one over. So, last game that we have to wrap up the regular season. It's another one that also had to deal with some major seeding as far as we go into the wild card weekend. That is New Orleans taking on Chicago, and Chicago taking that game 23-20. We're going to start with you, Mitch.
Yeah, well, Chicago definitely got that running game going, and McFarland, was able to get over 100 yards, a touchdown, and Williams did pretty well on the ground as well. That helps that fourth string quarterback that they had playing in this game. So it was interesting to see how New Orleans this year fared, and this the thing, they came out of nowhere and were 3 points away from a division title. So hats off to both teams.
Okay, Dean.
Yeah, this is a tough game, and they both played very tough. I was surprised that the Saints played Chicago tougher than I expected. And really, what was at stake here is the winner got the division and the number 2 seed because the Redskins had the number 1 seed at 13-3, and the loser dropped all the way down to the 4th seed. So there was quite a bit at stake, and they played tough, and Chicago came out ahead by 3 points.
All right. And that right there, people, wraps up the regular season games as we continue on. So I would definitely say overall it was a good season, regular season. Some better for others, but it's a wrap on that. So moving on to our next segment, we are going to go take a look at the final season, the final standings for the season, and take a look at that and see if there's anything that the guys here want to discuss or talk about or comment on as far as what they did. It look like what they expected in final standings, some surprises and some upsets. So we're gonna go ahead and start with Mitch on this round. So in the middle segment. So Mitch, what did you see as far as teams in their standings? Who overachieved? Who underachieved? Who surprised? And what's your overall take on the season this year?
Well, I would definitely say the biggest overachiever so far, New Orleans. Like I said, they came out of nowhere to win 10 games this year. I know last year I think they started off pretty hot, but then went on a big losing streak. So I wasn't expecting a ton out of them this year, but 10 wins and, like I said, 3 points away from that division title. Congratulations to Coach Perez and team. Other teams that kind of jumped out there this year. I mean, I don't know if there was really any other major surprises out there. On the positive side, I will say from a disappointment, I think you have to go and look a little bit at Jacksonville, Minnesota, and Seattle. All were battling or either in playoffs or in contention last year. And then combined this year for 14 wins. And so that's probably a little bit disappointing. And, just the AFC as a whole, we only had 3 winning teams this year. And so I think just the AFC stacking up as a whole, a little bit disappointing this year in my book.
Yeah, I'll take a quick stab at that. Yes, I agree with you. Minnesota, Seattle, and Jacksonville. I also agree with you. Also, the AFC side, it was bloody. We basically just beat each other up all the season, this whole season, and one score or a turnover or an overtime game is what really cost them better seedings out there. Dean, what's your take on that?
Well, I think there was a lot of conventional wisdom at the end of the last season about how strong the AFC was. And you had my team going from Kansas City to Atlanta, and my team was 5-11 last season. So conventional wisdom is you subtract a 5-11 team out of the AFC, it should get stronger. And you gained Indianapolis that used to be the Eagles, and I don't remember what their record was, but I think they only won maybe 5 or 6 games last season, and they're 4-12 this season. So when you look at the AFC only having 3 winning teams and the NFC having 5 winning teams total, that's 5 winning teams plus 8-8 Anaheim, so almost 6 winning teams. It kind of defies conventional wisdom, and I think it was James who pointed out that those kind of things come and go from season to season. So when we want to say, well, the AFC was much stronger this year or the NFC was much stronger this year, and if you have that expectation going into the next season, that doesn't always turn out to be true, and I think we can see that this term around. That being said, I think Jacksonville was looking very competitive last season. Things didn't go so well. I've been saying for the last few seasons that New England was going to improve. They showed some improvement, but they do get into the playoffs with a 7-9 record. You had the continued battle between Oakland and Los Angeles for the NFC West. Denver was looking strong early on when they were as we called them, the headless horsemen. But Denver has gone from 6-2 to ultimately 7-9 by going 2-7 in the last, or at least I think 2-6 in the second half of the season.
Yeah, definitely.
So,
It was definitely a flip between the two. But also,
yeah,
I think that coach he's getting his feet wet, and I think next season he's learned a lot in the second half. So I think with a full off season, going through that, and then having a draft, training camp, everything, and then has time to get his bearing set, and then going into the next season, I think we may see a turnaround for that as well. But definitely,
I agree.
yeah,
We'll see improvement. I think the new Denver coach is not going to go 2-6 in the first half of next season. I do not see that happening. In the NFC, I think the big story there is Washington going 13-3 after being 9-7 last season and a game behind Detroit for the division. So this season, Jerry's Redskins not only win the division but win the first overall seed with pretty good-looking record of 13-3.
right. Okay. Now we're going to pivot from looking at where our the final standings are, and we're going to pivot over to what I call the bracket. Your final, I guess your quarterfinals bracket, where we have going into Wild Card Weekend. On the AFC side, you have Oakland at the number 1 seed, New York Jets as the number 2 seed, LA Chargers as the number 3 seed, and New England Patriots as the number 4 seed. Over on the NFC side, we have the Redskins in the number 1 seed, Chicago Cardinals in the number 2 seed, Atlanta Falcons in the number 3 seed, and the New Orleans Saints in the number 4 seed. So we're going to start off with Dean on this side. I think we're going to do it a little bit different. I'm going to have Dean walk us through the AFC side, and I'm going to have Mitch walk us through the NFC side. So go ahead, Dean, and start talking about the AFC side as far as the 4 teams in that division.
I think let's see the reward for getting the number 1 seed is that you get to play New England. Now I know some people might be kind of afraid to play New England, but I'd be pretty confident if I were playing them. I mean, they're a decent team, but I think they're not quite up to the level of the other 3 teams in the, not just because of the 1-loss record, but I think they're not quite there yet. So by the Jets losing to the Redskins on that final play of the game, they lost a lot. And I think that Jets-Chargers matchup is, I think, the most likely matchup here to produce an upset result where the favorite team doesn't win. I think Oakland will be pretty solid against New England in that matchup.
Okay. Mitch, let's talk about the NFC side. What do you see on that side?
The NFC, it should be interesting. I mean, every team in that side of the playoffs has double-digit wins, and so you would hope that no one would have an easy ride through these playoffs. I am interested to see how New Orleans does in their first playoff appearance against Washington. I think they're going to play tough. I mean, they are one that they don't score a ton, but they usually play solid defense, and we know Washington likes to play defense as well. So that'll be interesting to see. And then with the Atlanta and Chicago, it'll be interesting to see how Atlanta rebounds, particularly offensively, and how they're able to pass protect. Chicago led the league in sacks, and Atlanta just came off a game where they gave up 8 sacks and got the quarterback knocked out of the game. So I think that is one that has a potential to get sideways if Coach Chambers doesn't make some adjustments both on the offense and defensive lines of the ball.
Okay. I'm gonna, since I'm not in it and both of you guys are, I'm going to give my walk down brackets as far as kind of like you have your Final Four bracket. So no offense to the other coaches when I make my picks. It's just what I'm thinking could be. And hey, everyone opinions, they come a dime a dozen. Everyone has one. So what I'm looking at on this end, I'd say between Oakland and the Patriots. I know Coach Mox he got into the dance. It's going to be a tall order for him to fill, but I'm picking the Raiders to come out of that one. Between the Jets and the Chargers. The Jets, they've been kind of in and out this season, but I think they're ready to dial it in. I see the Jets coming out of that one. And then, so on the AFC final side, I'm looking at the Jets, the Raiders, and the Jets. And I think this is going to be a tough one to pick, but I'm looking at the Jets by 3 to go to the finals. Both coaches can definitely strategize, and they go through the sims and the training and everything of that nature. I think that I think the Jets this season just kind of throttled it back a little bit. But I think going into this wild card weekend will say a lot, but not seeing that far ahead, I think that they'll end up making it to the finals. On the NFC side, I'm looking at Washington and the Saints. Congratulations for the Saints to get there to the dance, but I'm picking Washington on this one. I'm thinking the Redskins are going to take this one and move on. I see between the Cardinals and the Falcons, I see an upset coming here, and I think the Falcons are going to take this one. I think that throughout the season, even though they're all 10-win seasons, I think that the Cardinals, I think they're not going to be fully prepared for it moving forward. So it's going to come down between the Redskins and the Falcons. And sorry, Dean, I got to give this one to the Redskins. I think he's going to, because they plan, they overplan. They're kind of like the Jets. They go into overdrive when it comes to planning and getting those wins out. And in the finals, I'm going to give this one, I think the Redskins are going to take it this season all the way through. So that's my take on it. Anything else you guys may have on that one? Either one of you guys want to jump in? Do you agree? Well, of course, I know you guys are going to disagree because both of you want to go to the finals. So,
I don't even know how you've got me beating New England. I'm looking at their stats, and they're 5th in the league.
Here comes the Lou Holtz. Okay, Coach Holtz.
They're going to make me one-dimensional, and I just don't. Is Baker Mayfield going to be able to hold up in a one-dimensional game like that? I appreciate the confidence, but we'll see what happens on the field.
Hey guys, it's a good thing that I'm doing this show.
Showing up. I think I posted somewhere that I know it was an email or on the forum. I think I posted somewhere that I thought the most likely result would be a Washington versus Oakland Super Bowl.
Okay. So you think it's a Washington versus Oakland? All right. First off, I got 2 more comments.
Disagrees with what you were saying.
Right.
That disagrees with what you were saying.
I think New England has just as good a chance as anybody else in this thing. I don't know why y'all keep putting them on the back burner here.
Okay, I got 2 more things. First off, I'm glad that I'm upstairs because Coach Holtz can pedal that. He can shovel that stuff real good, and I don't feel like getting my feet wet with that stuff he's shoveling. So it's a good thing that I'm upstairs. Second,
you gotta be
exactly. So second, for you guys that are out there listening to the show, in the comment section on the YouTube page, put down who you guys think will make it to the finals. We could also do it on the forum, but I'm kind of curious if you guys can go ahead and put in the comment section on there to let me know. Do you agree with the picks? Do you have your your own set of numbers as far as you're going in, narrowing the bracket down. And it's going to be kind of curious to find out what it is, and just kind of add a little fun to the game, or fun to the show, into the league as a whole. So definitely kind of curious about that. Coming up to the last part, which you guys know what this is, as we are moving into the final stretch. We're going to go over the games real quick. First game on the docket is the Patriots and the Raiders. They are giving the Raiders 10.5. We're going to start with you, Dean.
Yeah, I think 10.5. I think the Raiders will win and cover the spread in this game. I think they will show up and play well. I mean, it's a postseason game. This is, that's just the way it goes. And I think the Patriots did well to get here. It's a sign of progress for their team, but I think Patriots will not win this game, and they'll be looking forward to further improvement in the next season.
Coach Holtz.
I mean, number 5. To me, this is a pick'em game at best. I mean, the Patriots, I said, they're number 5 against the run. They've got a mobile quarterback. They've got a coach who's hungry. At best, this is a pick'em. I don't know what everyone's thinking on this one.
Hey, Dean, you got your water wings on so you don't drown in all this stuff that's being peddled?
Yeah.
Okay. Next game, we have the Falcons taking on the Cardinals. They are giving the Cardinals 13.5. Coach Holtz, we'll start with you.
Well, I think I kind of already gave this away on the last one. I think the Cardinals are going to do well, and how well is going to be determined by what kind of adjustments the Falcons make in their secondary as well as on their pass protection. But I'm thinking the Cardinals are going to win this, and I think they're going to cover the spread too.
All right. Dean.
Yeah, I'm not sure what's going to happen in this game, especially after last week. It's kind of unpredictable. I mean, I can see a scenario where this is very close, and I can see a scenario where Chicago does cover the spread. We'll see what happens.
All right. Next one, we have the Chargers taking on the Jets, and the Jets are 8.5. Dean.
This is the one. But put everything you have. This is a lead pipe lock of the week. The upset, the Chargers are going to beat the Jets. It will happen. You heard it here first.
Okay. Coach Holtz.
Man, I think this is going to be a fun game. I really do. I think this is going to be a fun game. I know the game earlier, the regular season game between these two was a fun game. I believe Jets are going to win at home, but I think it's going to be closer than the 8.5. I think it's going to be a tight game. It's going to be a fun game to watch.
All right. Last game that we have the Saints taking on the Redskins. They are giving the Redskins 7.5. Mitch.
I'm going with, similar to the Jets-Chargers game, I'm going with the Redskins to win, but the Saints are going to cover in and be within that 7.5.
Okay. Dean.
Yeah, I'm going with the Redskins to win. I think this is actually going to be a low-scoring game. I think the spread will be covered. I'm taking something like 16-6 win by Washington.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat. I think it's going to be a tight defensive ground and pound kind of game.
All righty. All right. So as we are coming up to wrap this show up, hope you guys had fun. Don't forget to comment in that middle section who you guys think your overall champion is going to be, and the breakdown going through the 4 games on the AFC side, covering the AFC and the NFC as we go through those. So this as we wrap this up, it's This Week in the PNFL with Mark Hill, Dean Chambers, and Mitch Grawl. So any final words that you have over there, Dean, before we pass it over to Coach Holtz? I mean, Mitch, a.k.a. Coach Holtz.
Yeah, I think we have to hope that our quarterbacks stay healthy this weekend.
Okay. And what do you got over there, Mitch?
Well, only one thing left to do. Let's get it.